close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go.
Hey everyone, happy Thursday. Hope everyone's having a good day. So I'm back. We're back. We're down to one stream a week now. I know that may suck for some, but yeah, I decided last week that I needed to focus more on having more nights out of my week to just purely study, just reading. And doing more practical examples, because over an hour and a half, 2 hour stream, you can only get so much accomplished. So we're back. Thursday nights seem to be the most popular. I did a Twitter poll that seemed to be the most popular for my followers and people that watch the stream. If you could, just let me know if you can hear me well and I look fine and the quality of the stream's okay. The reason I bring it up is up until about like 10 minutes ago, my the streaming software or the video software that I use for the camera, it had to update, or it wanted to update, and the update broke some things, so I had to re-download some things. And so just let me know if you're in the chat or watching, and could put in the chat if everything looks all right, I sound okay, and yeah, that'd be helpful. All right, so tonight we're actually going to do a couple things. So between last week, well, actually I've had this built for a while, but I've created a detailed spreadsheet, a Google sheet, with some more fine-grained details of what we'll be studying and looking at just at a weekly basis. And everything can change. So, hey Ganesh, glad to see you in the chat. Hope you're doing well. So I'm gonna just show you that. That's actually kind of why I have this up here. So you can see I kind of went ham sandwich with the with the colors here. But I kind of broke down each of the topics. So we've gone over these topics, each section, 1 through 5, ad nauseum, I would say, over multiple streams. And what I did was I basically took the main chunks or the main points of each topic and broke it down by what are some major things that are discussed. So obviously the exam topics might say design this, configure this, troubleshoot this. What I did was kind of broke down the different, what I call focus areas, and then matched them to the topic. So like, you could see it kind of makes sense actually once you break down each besides security, to like 30% of the test is on infrastructure as code, and that has pretty much the most subjects or focus areas. And then you got 25% network programmability, containers, security. Like I said, security is kind of big, but I will say I'm just weak on security. I know I had to study the OWASP, the top 10, and OAuth 2 for the dev core. And I just, for whatever reason, like it just took me multiple times to read over and kind of understand, and also really more or less apply the concepts, because the concepts themselves aren't that difficult, but just applying them was tough. So that's kind of why I had a little extra in that section. So on top of the study outline, I listed the books that I'm going to be reading or have read. So Mastering Python by Eric Chow. Eric, if you're watching, I apologize. Great guy, very good book. I will say, if you're looking for some practical examples, and just not even high level, because he got kind of detailed in his chapters, but just an understanding going from, what is Ansible to, okay, how can I get this working with pure Python, right? Very good book. Finished that by my, like I said, I have a read by date, so that way I kind of stay on pace. So finished that at the end of November, and then actually I picked this up back in the fall, but I didn't put it on my initial reading list. It's called Clean Architecture by Robert Martin. And if you see him on Twitter, or he's kind of self-proclaimed his name, Uncle Bob. It's pretty funny. He actually has a few YouTube videos out there that, who tweeted at me yesterday? Rick Donato. Rick, who's founder of Packet Coders, he put in there about his YouTube videos. He commented on my Twitter and gave me a couple links. They were pretty funny. I watched the first half hour or so. They're pretty good. But anyways, he's pure software development, right? He's been doing it for, I think, 40 plus years. So this was an interesting book, because it kind of took a step back from your networking and looked purely at, okay, software design, software development, and principles, concepts, and it really helped with the one section I was kind of worried about, as far as finding resources, resources that you can apply to or that are applicable, which is section 1 here with software design and development. Deployment, I think, will be, I'm kind of diving into it more with, tonight we'll look at GitLab, using CICD, and then Kubernetes and containerization. But anyways, Clean Architecture, very good book. I highly recommend it. I just finished that last week, or I guess earlier this week. Jeez, man, I'm telling you, these weeks are flying by. It's already a couple weeks into the new year. So anyways, finished that book. Now I'm on to the Cisco Press book. I'm kind of grinding away at that. It's a beefy book. I think it's a little over 1,000 pages. I'm about 330 in. Very detailed. There are definitely some things that, if you're in network automation already, or, program, just know basic Python and some programming. There are some, things you might already know. But I will say I learned a lot. The book opened up talking about Linux, and man, it taught me a lot about the Linux, the Unix, the whole ecosystem, how the file system, how the hierarchy set up, why it's set up. So so far so good. It is the thing I'm having a struggle with right now is, so traditionally my study plan goes, I read a book, no particular order, but most of the time I read the book first. I have a video course or videos I like to go over and kind of solidify, because as I read a book, I'll take notes. And then I'll watch a video, whether it be like CBT Nuggets, Pluralsight, INE. I'll do a video course, and then kind of re-solidify some of the concepts. And then, I mean, all throughout it, I'll kind of do labs here and there, but towards the end, I'll really like grind away at labs. And that way it's like, okay, it's sticking. And I'll try to do it with little help. So that way it's like, okay, what you've learned over the past few months, it's in there. But so I'm kind of having a struggle with this fundamentals book because it's good. It's a good refresher, right? Because it teaches you from the ground up. And there's details that I definitely didn't know. Like I was just talking about Linux. So it's just tough because it's 1,000 pages. And like I'm grinding away. I would say just last week, I'm averaging like 200, 250 pages a week, which isn't easy. And I will say, like, there's some sections or pages that I can kind of skip. And there are a lot of code examples that might take up a, half page, full page. But man, it's tough. But I'll keep grinding away at it. And then the last two books are about network programmability with Yang and then Kubernetes up and running. I'm really excited about both of these books. The Yang one I'm really interested about because if going over the blueprint, there's a lot that has to deal with data modeling. And specifically, how many times you see RESTconf and NetConf, Yang. I mean, there are a bunch of, and it crosses over into like here, using Ansible. Okay, well, some of the connection plugins you have to know include HTTP API and NetConf, right? So, and then NSO is literally built on Yang. So there's a lot that has to deal with Yang models, RESTconf, NetConf. So that should be an interesting read. And then Kubernetes, obviously, that's its own world. I read enough to understand it for the DevCore and the DevNet Professional, but since obviously this being a practical exam, I got to get a little deeper. So that'll be more in the early spring that we'll be doing that. So, but anyways, I'm trying to do books or read and do videos and lab, right, every week. So that's another reason why I can't do 2 streams. Because, whether you know it or not, there is a little bit of prep that goes into the streams. Not much, because I do try to keep it as, authentic as, learning and everything. But there are, like, what to go over and what to do. So it just 2 streams a week would just crush my habits. My study habits. So anyways, these are the books, and I'll add to it. And if I add to it, I try to update, because I know on GitHub I have all of these books, and whether I've read them or not in like the README, I'll try to keep it up to date as well. Some of these other tabs, like I said, I'm not going to go through all of them like in detail, but you see here I go week by week what book I'm reading, what labs I'm doing, the exam topics that are covered. Let's see what else. Dude, I went hard with this study plan. The videos that the length and the videos I'm covering, you'll notice I'm pretty much just using Pluralsight. So I've kind of been at the forefront of most of these DevNet exams, minus the professional. The professional is out for about a year and a half. By the time I took or completed the professional, but the associate I took day 1, it was out. And then like expert here, obviously I'll aiming to take it day 1. So it's not like there's a nice, official cert guide that's just like opens up and says, here you go, here's everything you need to know. So you kind of have to find those resources. Nick Russo does a really good job. He's an instructor with Pluralsight. He does a great job with creating study guides and study plans for the DevNet Associate and Professional. I haven't seen anything on the Expert, but what I did was I went to Pluralsight and kind of went through like the different topics that I need to kind of tighten up on, and I would just search the topics in Pluralsight, and a lot of times it came back to his videos. So there is a mix of Nick's videos in here. but you'll see I have the titles and the links, and then I created another column just for everyone on stream, about some topics that we'll try to cover. So, and this obviously, all of this can change. Like, none of this is set in stone. So, like, you might see model-driven telemetry on here a couple times. That's really more or less for, I forget the practice, but basically where you review something and then like a week later you go back, review it. It kind of helps test your knowledge and, solidifies the knowledge. So, yeah. So that's the weekly plan. And then these other sections, this is a reminder of what to include in all my applications: error handling, logging, security, input validation, because that's what's on the test. And then I actually created another tab here for going through the different Python libraries. So as you guys know, they released the requirements file that will be installed. You'll have installed on your workstation, all the Python libraries. So all I did was kind of read through them and figure out what's available, and then I'm going through and actually go into like PyPy and finding their documentation, a link to their documentation, and kind of reading through. So for example, like there's one called HVAC. It's a secret management, which I had no idea. About. There's Curtsies, a CLI tool, Tenacity for retry. So it's funny enough, on the blueprint here, there's actually a man, I can't find it, but there's one of the topics actually mentions about including like retries, like if you're doing API calls, and you might have to create a back-off script or something to where you're just hitting it too much, or you have to wait for a response and you need a retry counter. This Tenacity library actually kind of aids with that. So anyways, I kind of created this tab as just like a note-taking section. So yeah, if anyone's interested in it, I probably won't release it. I won't publicize it or anything like that until, like, put it out on GitHub or have somewhere you could download it until after the exam, because this will change. I guarantee you it will change. I don't want to keep uploading or putting out different versions. I'll just kind of at the very end, I might just put it out there so that way others can use it. So it will not be an exam dump. I will also preface that. I won't be changing it after the exam. The reason I said I'm waiting until I take the exam is because at that point I know this will be finalized. Like any study plans, adjustments I made, that will be done by my first exam attempt. So it will not be changed after I take the exam based on content I find. I will tell you that. So don't expect that. All right, enough talking. Let's try to dive into this. So, something I noticed, so going over the blueprint, I noticed, and actually going over, let me find it here. I have these bookmarked on every browser I have, because I try to review it like once a day, not like study it or anything, but just review it. So I noticed here that GitLab is on here. Let me find it. Here we go. All right, so GitLab's listed here, which makes sense. GitHub is not here. Not to rule it out, but when they mention CICD, troubleshooting issues with CICD, using Git with a CICD development workflow. Whenever I created my first CICD pipeline, I started with GitLab. And I know GitLab, it's very easy to create like an on-prem instance and, runners, and it's just easy to set up. So I imagine, because I guess I should start over. GitLab and GitHub, right? Two different public code repositories that you could store your code. GitHub has GitHub Actions for all of its CI/CD work. GitLab has its own CI/CD workflow as well, which that's what we'll actually be looking at tonight. They're essentially just YAML files. It's very simple syntax. It's not like learning Python or anything like that. But they're they're different syntax. Not very different, but they are different, right? So I'm making the assumption based on this software list, since GitLab's listed and it has a specific version and GitHub is not on here, or Bitbucket or anything like that, that we'll be using GitLab in the testing environment to do troubleshoot. Going back to here, troubleshooting CI/CD pipeline issues, creating a development workflow, and so on. So it kind of stinks because I created that GitHub repository for everything, but there's a good chance that, a lot of the tests will be in GitLab. A lot of the code, I should say, which is fine. I mean, it's just repositories. The only thing different is the CI/CD component. So, anyways, I recreated a GitLab repository. I'm gonna actually put this in the chat. Feel free to let me try to find the chat here. Feel free if you want. This is where I'll be making all my changes to creating the CI/CD pipeline tonight, and anything related to creating a Flask API, because in the exam topics here, it does say build, manage, and operate a Python-based REST API with a web application framework. That's another point that I looked at through that requirements file, or through the software list. Flask is the only web application framework that's listed. Django's not on there. Bottle's not there. Fast API wasn't in the requirements.txt file. So what I'm reading is build, manage a Python-based REST API with Flask, using endpoints, HTTP request, and response. So, hey Blues, I'm doing pretty good. How are you? Hope you're doing well. Sorry, I just saw your message. So anyways, so I figured for tonight, that's why we will use GitLab. I create same repo name, just in GitLab. And it just has the Flask API. So that way, with this repository, we'll create the Flask API, which I've already done, by the way, and I'll quickly show that to you, and then we'll create the CI/CD pipeline, and kind of just go from there. All right, so I think I mentioned this in previous streams, because we'll be using Ubuntu in the lab environment. I figured I'm doing everything through this Ubuntu VM that I have hosted on just a local server. I'm not going to use the VS Code instance on my Windows machine because I'm trying to imitate the lab as much as possible. So I already cloned the repository, the one that I put in the chat, and I haven't created the virtual environment, so I'm actually going to do that now. You can see the requirements.txt file here. We're not going to go over it because it's the same one that you find on Cisco Learning Network. So I'm just going to go ahead, check the Python version real quick. Cool. Python's not installed. No, wait, hold on. Let me just make sure Python 3 is not installed. Okay, Python 3 is installed. So I'm not. The problem is, okay, so I'll do this after stream, or no, off stream. I have Python 3.8 installed. The test environment is Python 3.9, I believe. Yeah, Python 3.9. It's whatever. Okay, so it's. I mean, it'll do. It'll do for now. So all I always just do, just create a virtual environment. I just keep it the same name, VNV. But you can name this whatever. Like I could call this like Dev Expert VNV, but I just use the VNV module and just name the folder that too. So Okay, maybe not. Oh, I gotta install that. Man, I didn't do much setup on this, did I? Yikes. Alright. Paste. I apologize. I thought I've already set up an environment on here before, so I was under the assumption it was already set up. Okay. So let's try this again. So we'll create the virtual. Oh, shoot. Okay, hold on. I forgot. Sometimes if it's not installed, it'll still create the folder, and there's just some weird issues. So what I just deleted that folder, recreate the environment. That's a nice part about virtual environments. You just recreate it. All right. So, oh, good luck with pip. Yeah, I don't think. Let me source from the environment real quick. Oops. But I think you're right, Blues. Pip install, or let me just do pip list. It'll throw up an error. I don't know. Maybe because it's in the virtual environment. Actually, I want to say maybe I did have pip. Anyways. So I'm going to go into the Flask API folder now. So I just activated it with that source command, the virtual environment. So I'm going to do pip install requirements.txt, let her rip, see what happens. I sometimes do get a random error. I don't know why. I forget which package, but we'll see. So as that's running through, that's installing everything, all the packages. Let's pop this back up. So what I'm going to do is I'll start the. It's a super simple API. It's not gonna be anything crazy. I had to kind of restrain myself from doing anything too crazy because the goal of this lab is to really build out a CICD pipeline, not to build a fancy API. There are features that need to be added to the API, but the idea was just get something up and running, and then kind of go back and freshen up once we hit those topics. So as that's going on, I'm going to do a GitLab CICD. So I initially built a CI/CD pipeline. Let me think. If I still have the repository here. Yeah, I think I called it infra. Yeah, so we're not going to cheat off this, but I did. So I created one here. This was for a blog post, yeah, a year ago, December 18th. Where basically it's an Ansible playbook, and I believe, yeah, it had roles. It was pretty in-depth. This actually will help us with the Ansible topics. So let's see. So you see here, like, this is an example of the different stages. So, and we'll go through each one, but you know, just to kind of show you that I've created one before, but literally it's been a year, over a year, I should say. So there's a good chance, you know, we'll kind of be doing this together. And that's I want to start fresh like this, so that way, you know, it kind of it hits me. Like I gotta really, like, you know, almost relearn the topic. So let's see, any errors here for YAML lint? Okay. It's weird though, because let's see. Let me do that. Oh, I think I did this before, where pip install. What version of wheel? Let's do this. Let me make sure this is installed first. Alright, so this is what I like to do, just to make sure that everything, there were some errors, but obviously there's a good amount of things that were installed. So I like to just do a pip freeze, and we'll just call it. So what pip freeze obviously does is it will take all the packages installed in this virtual environment, and just compare. Hold on. Compare selected. Yeah, I mean, really? You know what I mean? Like, okay, so we have a capitalized letter, same version of Flask though, not a problem. Capitalized letter, Jinja, markup safe, same thing. Capital letters, capital letters. Yeah, so Scraply, it looks like it didn't install some of the extensions or the plugins. Let's see. Funny enough, it says wheels not installed, but it is. So, dude, what? You know what I mean? Okay. I won't worry about Scraply too much because, like I said, this is just for our Flask API, but if we run into issues for whatever reason we do introduce Scraply, we'll know. So, anyways. All right. So, what was I going to show you? Oh. Python at py. So I'm going to run. Let's see. Oh, I thought this was in a folder. Oh, you know what? Shoot. I feel like, because I was working on this the other day, I don't know if I made the changes. I had some changes I made, and I don't think I introduced them. Under the import relative. Let's see, without, it's probably wire though. Oh, no. Up, down, run. Oh. What the heck? See what I mean? Yeah, that's not a valid IP. Yeah, I made changes on my laptop and did not push them. Let's try this again, guys. There we go. Sorry, I'm just catching up with you, Blues. Is your CICD repo public? I believe so. Yeah, you mean this one here, infra? It should be. I'll put it in the chat. IPv5. Yeah, that's basically what I just made. If that's on the test, I aced that part. I want to say this is. I'm trying to think of the best infra. Sorry, I have not been private. Project access must be granted explicitly. I don't really want to. How do I change it? Oh, it's over here. General. Visibility. Boom. Public. This project can be accessed by anyone regardless. Everyone with access, view and edit. I mean, I'll just open it up. You're not going to hurt anything. Now it's updated. Or now it's Yeah, now it's unlocked. All right. Here, Blues. How about you, if you want, or if you're on a computer? I'm putting it in the chat now. You should be able to access it. Yeah, I just put it in the chat. So, and I have not. I will give you a fair warning. I have not ran this in literally a year. So, there's a chance it might not work. And I will say, if you're trying to run this, make sure you're on Ansible, because I know they messed up their versioning. They're on like version 3 or 4 or whatever. This happened way before that. So make sure you're on like Ansible 2.9 or 2.10 if you try installing it or running it. But yeah, this is a good example. Anyways, all right, let's try to do this. Let me try to get Firefox. All right, so I have the Flask server up and running. Honestly, I could do the same thing in Postman. I don't really care. Okay. I can do the same thing in Postman because remember, besides like, so in the past, we've built like a Flask application that served up like web pages, right? And has an API. But this, like, it says strictly an API. So there's not going to be many like Jinja 2 HTML templates I'll have to build out. But just to kind of give you guys an understanding of how the API is built, it's very, very basic. So if we just go to / which we just did, or what was just on the screen here, you'll see it just says homepage. Pretty basic. But I created what's called a Flask blueprint for the API. So what a blueprint is basically it allows you to help modularize your app, so that way like you don't have routes for all like your APIs under app.py, right? It also allows you to customize your different sections of your blueprint or your application. So for example, and I'll talk strictly about API and what I did here. I created this blueprint and added the URL prefix API/v0. I also named the file API_v0. But what you could do is, let's say, you hear about APIs getting reversioned, or like version 1, version 2, and sometimes the API gets completely overhauled, right? Different endpoints, different ways, even maybe different ways to authenticate. What Blueprints allows you to do is I could work on a API, v1, version 1, in a separate file and like on a separate blueprint. And whenever I'm ready, all I have to do is go to my main app and register the blueprint as, I would probably call it API v1_blueprint, right? And when that happens and I reboot the app or restart the app, that API becomes visible, right? And you could actually go to it. And I would probably have a prefix like /API/v1. So it's really cool because it allows you not to have to manage, like, think if we had a bunch of routes like this, or I'll go back to the main, a bunch of routes like this, where it was like, this route said /API/v0/home. And then we had to copy and paste these 3 lines, let's say. And then we did it, copy, pasted, and now we're like, okay, we also want one for devices, copy and paste. And then on top of devices, we want devices / and then we want, let's say, an ID. You can see how that kind of gets very cumbersome. So that's the nice part about Blueprint. And there's a bunch of other options with Blueprints. It's not just to make your code easier to manage. It just allows you to group things that are relative to one another in the same file. So in this case, you have to kind of combine the prefix here with the route. So it would be API/v0 and then just a /. And then we should return a JSON response that says API says hello, right? Or a JSON object. So if we go to /API/v0, you can see it's Firefox does a nice job, shows you a JSON response, API says hello. Right? Like I said, it's a very basic example, but you can see how you build on this, right? You could have one that says API route / devices, and then you could then build out like a whole separate an endpoint just for your devices, and you want to query the OS version, right? You could create an endpoint for that, and obviously at that point you're creating a method, and you could have all your data below that. Like if you have async calls, database calls, like you can do that because it's just pure Python, and you return the data. So anyways, enough with that. The only other thing I wanted to mention here was I found this pretty neat error handler. So what it allows you to do is any sort of errors, HTTP codes that you want to handle, you can build out a function and then put these decorators on top. So for example, 404 is not found, right? So what I did was I just created a basic function to handle a 404 and a 405. I forget what 405 is. So because we're all learners here. 405. I don't know why I had that. Oh, method not allowed. I have no idea why I have that, because that doesn't even make sense. Okay, anyways, you get the idea. So 404 not found. So we'll say if the request, which the request object is obviously what you're, what's being sent. If the path of the request starts with /API/v1, we're going to return the error message and then the error code. Else, we're just going to return the error. Doesn't make sense. I don't know. Like I said, I made a bunch of changes before, and I just forgot to put upload them to GitLab. All right. So, but the idea is, if it's a API v1, which let's say we're an actual company, it's not released yet. If anyone tries to go to a API v1, they're going to get a nice little JSON message back that says, no, like it's not here. It's a 404, not found. So if we go back to our example here, let's just say v1. See, so it's a nice little error message. I mean, it tells the user 404 not found. Request URL is not found on the server. If entered manually, please check your spelling. But you could optionally say, 404 not found, version 1 is not released yet. You could make a more friendly one, but I just took the error message and the code took the error code and the message that came with it and just included it here. So, but I think it's pretty neat though. All right, so this is not the point that I was trying to get across tonight. So we have a Flask API, right? And what we want to do is, well, first, what did we fix here? Fixed the import, and then we fixed the app.run. So we'll just say fixed errors. Okay. And then we'll sync the changes. Oh, you know what? I probably should have waited until, let me see. Oh man, hold on. I gotta pull up a password. Craziness. I didn't sync up, by the way. I didn't generate a personal token or anything yet for this VM, which is why it's asking me for the username password. But you should have this set up. All right. Let's see. There we go. All right, so it should be uploaded now. Yeah, all right, fixed errors. Okay, so it's committed. We're good. Anyways. All right, so let's set up this pipeline. So I thought about it a little bit because I want to keep it concise and something we can just knock out. Obviously, we'll build onto this, so in no way, no matter what point we get to, there will definitely be opportunity to add things and optimize this. But let's just start with the basics and kind of just go through their documentation. So we're just going to skip to getting started. So ensure you have runners available to run your jobs. If you don't have a runner, install GitLab runner. Shoot, I don't think I have a runner. Can be installed using Mac OS, Windows. Yeah. All right, so I don't have this set up, but that's part of the experience. I remember I had this set. It's funny. I remember all of this now. Like I went through a struggle setting this up. Installing using the GitLab repository. Yeah. I have no idea. Let's see. Prerequisites. Hey, Julio. Julio said CICD for the win. Yeah, man. The worst, dude, you had the same thing with drone. It's just installing. I just hate doing this. Installing the runners. So with GitHub Actions, you don't have to install the runners. That's the nice part. I forgot to do it, but we'll go through it real quick. Let's see, install the latest version or skip to the next. I mean, we'll just do this. So we're just using the official Linux package. And we'll just rock with it, see how it works. Cool. Oh wait, shoot. It's trying to there we go. Hold on. It's trying to ask for my password, but there we go. Let's try that now. Okay. Julio says, I think you can even use GitHub locally installed runner, something on the list to play with. Yeah, I know that you can do the local. I think you can do local runners with GitHub. It's just that with Actions, though, you just say, okay, I want Ubuntu, or I want to use this container, and yeah, I just feel like it's so much easier to do. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I mean, this so far has been pretty easy. The repository set up, you can now install packages. Okay. Let's see. Install the latest version of GitLab runner or skip to the next step to install a specific version. Okay. We're just gonna install the latest. So the last time I did this, I'm pretty sure I did it in like a container, and I went through like some rough patches with the container. Cause like, it like the container wouldn't start, or I don't know. I had some weird stuff going on. So yeah, maybe if we install it just as a service on the Ubuntu machine. And I mean, honestly, I probably shouldn't even install it on this machine. I probably should have built a separate one, but whatever. It's not going to be that big of a deal. Julio says, I think the local runner is Docker based, so you can reference whatever public Docker container in the run, for example, different versions of Python for your app. Yeah. Yeah, so I think you're right. The local runner is Docker. Yeah, so there was an option. You can see here there was an option for a Docker container. Where is it? I see Kubernetes Docker right here. There was an option for a Docker container. I just had an issue with it last time. Okay. So let's register it. Okay, so that was pretty simple. Well, it's still going here. Alright, so it looks like the following new packages will be installed. Service is not installed. Let's see. System CTL status GitLab runner. Oh, it says it's running. Okay. All right. Whatever. Let's just register. Let's just see what happens. How about that? All right. So registering runner. You can register multiple runners on the same host machine. Okay. Installed on a server separate where GitLab's installed. GitLab I don't have installed. Go to overview runners. Linux right here. Okay. If you're behind a proxy, okay. Register. Boom. Enter your GitLab instance URL. Oh, you know what? I had right here. Not pipelines. One of them here was for a runner. It's all coming back to me slowly. Here we go. Settings. Runners. Expand. Okay. You should create it first. You mean create the runner? I see what you mean. What is all this stuff? These runners are shared across this GitLab instance. Dude, I have no idea about what these runners are. I'm not gonna lie. They're free to use for... Okay, hold on. Shared runners on GitLab.com run in autoscale mode and are powered by Google Cloud Platform. Autoscaling means reduced wait times to spin up builds. Isolated VMs. They're free to use for public open source projects and limited to 400 CI minutes per month. Okay, so I mean, they're starting to get it of what I was going at with GitHub Actions, because Actions I believe also has a limit. I don't know if it's more than 400 CI minutes per month, but they do. I believe they do have a limit. I might be not right on that, but these are kind of cool. So they have publicly available runners. Either way. Okay. So let's register. So if I remember right, when we register it, it's going to go through like step by step, you know, plug in the tokens and whatnot. Here we go. Enter the URL. Yeah, the URL is just GitLab. Done. Registration token. Done. Enter the description. Danubuntu. Sure. Enter tags. We'll call this dev expert. We'll call it, and then we'll just say lab. Okay. All right. I guess it's going. Oh, enter an executor. Shoot, I wasn't ready for this question. want to say shell, but part of me also is like, I don't think it's gonna work. For a group runner, install it, obtain a token, a group runner. I want to say shell. Yeah. Blues. Yeah, Blues. I think you're right because you already have a local Python version. Okay, that makes sense. Feel free to start it, but if it's already running, it should be automatically reloaded. All right, it's running. Boom. All right, let's see if it's registered. Refresh. Expand. Haha. There we go. All right. Gosh, I feel like I'm just getting lucky not having any of this set up and then all of a sudden and then getting everything up and running. I feel good. Okay. That's just more about runners. What's next? Where am I? There we go. Okay. Am I back to... Okay, this is getting started. Number 1, done. Okay, create a GitLab CI YAML file. So this file basically are the instructions for the CICD pipeline. I'll call it CICD, but I will tell you there's a good, especially tonight, where we'll just be looking at the CI side of things, so the continuous integration. So we'll just have quality of life checks. It won't be like, obviously there's not much integration or deployment or anything like that. Now when we get to Docker and like Ansible, Terraform, there's a good chance that we will have the CD part, the continuous development or delivery deployment, because we'll want to, especially Ansible, we'll be deploying config out to a quote-unquote production environment. It's all going to be in CML. It's going to be the same environment, the test and the production, but you get the point. Okay. Create a CIC or a GitLab CI YAML file. Okay. So let's go back to here. And in the root of the directory, we'll create a new file called GitLab CI.yaml. Don't care. No. GitLab. Yeah, just want to make sure I named it right. YAML file is where you configure specific instructions. In this file, you define the structure or the jobs. To create it, go to details. Oh, that's just telling you how to create it. For the file name, okay, so this is just a sample job. I'm not going to do that. I need actually... I don't even need this. I need the predefined variables. Here we go. Oh no, these are still predefined. I don't really need the variable as much as kind of building one. Let's see. Oh, and I'm kind of just cruising through all this. I probably should start. I'm going to try to explain some of it too. So you have kind of the different jobs. So you have your jobs and then your stages and then what exactly is being done per stage. So you can see they just created test jobs here, and then they're just running basic shell commands, just echoes. So it's like print statements basically. But I don't really need, I guess what I'm looking for are the jobs. Yeah, this is what I'm looking for. Got it. So we first need to create jobs. And so we'll start with I guess I should see what packages are installed again. Let me see what packages are installed. Okay, so YAML lints here. So the idea, what I want to do is either like do formatting. You see YAML lint there, and that would be good for when we do Ansible. PyYAML, no. PyTest, okay. So I probably should create a quick test case. PyYang. I'm just looking for libraries. Okay, MyPy. There's a good example. McCab. Okay, what's McCab again? I've read it. I feel like it has something to do. Python. I thought it had something to do with security. Oh, complexity checker. Oh, geez. Okay. Can be used directly when both Flake 8 and McCab. I don't think I have Flake 8 installed though. No, I'm definitely wrong there. Okay, so Flake 8 I'm definitely in black. Oh, good. Okay, so black was the one I was actually looking for because that's the formatter. And I'm more familiar with actually using that. So let's do black Python. I mean, I guess that's what I get for typing in black Python. Here we go. Jeez. It's the code formatter. It's one of the easiest ones to get up and running. So I'm going to start with this. And where to go? So I'm going to start with code formatter. And then we'll go from there. So we'll call this job format code formatting. All right. I don't know if I want a script. Okay, so top level elements of the arbitrary name must contain at least the script clause, not limited to. Yeah. Okay, so we'll definitely, you can't use these keywords in a job. Okay, that's fine. Choose when a job should run. Alright, rules are evaluated. I don't really need rules. Let's see, script. Because I know what we can do is, trying to think. Oh, you know what I need to do is build environment. So what I'll do is I think you can do multiple script. Source. I'm pretty sure I don't even have to. Man. My brain's just melted. Holy crap. I almost need to just like look at an example because I'm trying to like kind of figure out where to start, right? So I know in my head I gotta Python. Obviously I have Python. Install the requirements. Activate the virtual environment, install the requirements, run, get the Flask. I don't even care to get it up and running. Just thinking. Source it. Yeah, source the virtual environment, and then I just need to run run black from the command line. Oh, blues. I see you asked about Pep 8. Yeah, so black kind of like it mimics a lot of the Pep 8 rules as far as formatting, but it allows a little more customization. It's more or less an alternative. So let me see. I don't need all this. Okay, how about this? Watch this. Let's just do GitLab Python app or GitLab CICD. I just need to see an example to get one up, like get the juices flowing here. I need Python to deploy and test application. Let's see what this one looks like. I just need to see, okay, image, Python latest. Okay, so this one, perfect. Look for different tagged release. Got it. I'm just reading what you're saying, Blues. In that case, the runner should be Docker if you want to build every time you push the code. Yeah, so I'm actually thinking more or less, I'm kind of thinking along these lines though, because here what they're doing is using a Docker container. So they'll pull down a Docker container, install everything in the Docker container, and do it that way. Let's see. But I also don't want, let's see. I kind of want to have not the latest Python image. I kind of want a slimmed down version. Because I think, like Julio's in the chat, or he was, he had an issue where he got the latest Python image and it was just crazy big. And it took forever. So I kind of need like a slimmed down, pretty sure it was called like Alpine. Yeah, so let's see. Oh, Julio's still here. Hey Julio, what was the name of that image that you got? The Python container, the tag. I thought it was like Alpine. It was like 3.7 Alpine. Whatever. What I'll do is, if you go to Docker Hub, there should be some official slim Python variant. Okay. So that's what I'll do. Or just back to here now. Let's just check tags real quick. I thought spline Alpine. Here we go. Pretty sure. Python Buster Slim. Okay. Then I'll just look up Slim. Slim Buster. Hey. Oh yeah, 42. Jeez. Now we're talking. A tag will reference the build you want. Yeah, I think you're right. So let's see. All right, so we have the image. Oh, great. Let's just get rid of this stuff. Image. Alrighty. Full name of the image. Okay, that's nice. As the fill, I think I do have the GitLab extension installed. Alright, so we'll pull down the image, change pip's cache directory to be inside the project directory since we can only cache local items. That makes sense. So cache inside of the directory. If you want to also cache the install package, you have to install them in a virtual environment and cache it as well. No. Alright, so here's our different stages. So before the scripts ran, we will verify the Python version. We'll do a pip install well, in this case, we're not going to do virtual env. We'll just do venv, and then we'll source it. So I'm going to type some of this because I feel like I'm cheating the system, but at the same time, it's like not really. All right, Python version. I wonder if I have to quote that. No. Okay. And so we're going to actually do Python venv, just like we did setting it up. And we'll do source venv bin activate. Oh, I'm trying to like tab complete as I'm typing it. Activate. Okay. All right. So up to this point, we have a Docker image. It's going to pull down. It's going to point pip to cache into the project directory itself instead of somewhere else in the image. Let's see. Sorry, I was just reading Julio. In my case, I use Python 397 Slim, but feel free to use whatever. Actually, I do need that. Let me just double check. 397. Actually, I think, because I think it just asked for, okay, 397 Slim Buster. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I guess Slim Buster by itself would have got 3.10 if I had to guess. So yeah, I actually do need 3.9. So yeah, thanks for letting me know. Okay, so now we're at the testing stage. So now we're actually gonna run this thing. So we will pip install. No, we don't really need that. Oh, I guess what we can do is pip install the requirements. So we'll do pip install requirements .txt except it's going to be within the project folder. And I'm just gonna to keep it consistent. So within the project, oh wait, no. Yeah, Flask API. So I'm basically installing the requirements or the dependencies that are put in the requirements file. So I'm in the project directory, which is everything here, and then going to Flask API and then requirements.txt. So that should install everything there. Actually, I can see why they put it in a separate test script. Well, we'll keep it like this for right now. Scripts, and we'll say or no, I guess it doesn't really matter. because what I want to run is the formatter. Yeah, because I'm pretty sure it's just black dot. All right. That should be about it, because I'm just running black from the command line, and Python black. Probably gonna get pictures of, yeah, okay. Because I'm pretty sure to run it against everything in the, yeah. To get started right away with sensible defaults, yeah. So I'm not going to put any defaults. Obviously, like I said, we're going to build on this as, you know, we go on. But, you know, you can have a whole config file that specifies like line length and all of that. So we're just going to keep the defaults. And that should be it. So we're gonna add this black check, black dot check. Okay, yeah. I felt like I was missing something there, because I was like, okay, I feel like I definitely. Don't know why that would be incorrect type. All right, well, I mean, it is what it is. Yeah. Okay. So added CI, GitLab CI. Let's see, because I feel like I needed to do one more thing actually. Yeah, I feel like I have to do one more thing. Because I have to tell it, oh yeah, there's something else I gotta do. I gotta tell it when to run, I'm pretty sure. Let's see. Oh no, it's running. So I think by default it runs. I thought for sure I had to I thought for sure we had to put something on like on, you know, committing to master or committing to main, right? I know you have to, like, if you want it not to run, you have to specify when. Let's see what's going on. Okay. Okay. So far so good, right? Yeah. Alright, so it got the Docker container, pulled down the Docker container, and it got to installing the requirements. So it found the requirements file, and now it's going through installing the requirements, which there's a lot of requirements. And black.check is done. One file would be reformatted. 2 files left unchanged. Oh. And Julio, I just saw your message. Check will cause an error exit code in a pipeline, right? You don't say. You don't say. If not, the job will pass even if a change is required. No, I appreciate. Actually, that's nice that you told me to include that, because I would have probably left the check out and then it would have passed. So that's good. Yeah, check. So putting the check flag on will cause an error exit code, and it did. Boom. Well, that was a very simple run. So how about this? Let's see. I mean, if a change is needed, yeah, you can even have black auto format files on save. Yeah. So with the net check project I was working on back in, when was that? October-ish, with Fast API. That's what I did. I had VS Code configured, and I actually had like I had like a configuration file and like specific error codes and specific like rules not to follow. I had it decked out. What I'll do, because I don't want to go, like I said, this is an iterative process. I'll probably add to this within the next week, and then we'll revisit this with a little more detail. So yeah, I purposely didn't format it before just to see it fail. So now that it fails, cool, that's fine. What I'll do is I'll format the app.py file that's showing a failure, and then we'll rerun it. So we'll just do black dots. Okay, so yeah, so the file was reformatted. You can see where it was. Really, it's just one spot. Hey, I wasn't too bad. I don't have any formatting set up, like auto formatting. So, and it looks like I just had this one block. I don't know. I guess it must have added some spacing. Let's see. Oops. Oh, no. So all it did was change the quotes from single quotes to double quotes. That's not bad. So yeah, that's like a good example of a formatting rule. Like if you didn't want it to check for that, this would be a particular rule that you'd have to read through the black documentation and find it. And I don't know if there's an easy where are the docs at here? Let me go back. Oh, I had it there. Yeah, the read the docs. So if you go through read the docs here, it'll talk about usage and configuration. You can find what it checks for. For example, I know I believe PEP 8 is like, what is it, 79 characters long. Like the each line of code can only be 79 characters. And then, but you can customize. I think I had it up to like 120, because the reason it was 79 was because back when I guess the PEP 8 was like, I don't know what you call it, nullified, or I guess that's the opposite, approved. It I guess the width of the screens, it fit 79 characters like perfect, right? So like if you can imagine, take this out, 79 characters across, like let's say it was right here, that was like the end of the screen at the time, or most screens. But now like right now I'm on an ultra wide, so I mean I could probably have like a 250 characters long. But anyways, like most screens now you could probably get up to about, I think like 100, 120s, probably about right. So that way, I mean, even then it's still like right here. So that way, everything is within the screen. So the idea is you don't have this at the bottom, right? So you don't have like, let's say a long regex line and it just keeps going and going and you have to like use your horizontal scroll bar. So that's the idea. So, but not too bad. So we just had to change some quotes. So what we'll do is I will add this, and I'll say formatted with black, And so you'll notice, let me pull it up here. Let me go back to project info, repository. So you'll notice here there's a an X saying that the pipeline failed. And then if you click in here, you'll see why. You'll kind of see where it failed at. So like I said before, this is a very simple example because all we're doing is code formatting. But you'll notice, okay, I fixed the problem, right? One file, we reformatted one file, 2 files left unchanged. I'm about to push these files up to GitHub, or GitLab, sorry. And based on, since I fixed the files, when it does the check, it should say, yeah, everything looks good, exit code 0, and then it'll be a green check. Alright, so sometimes refreshes, but click on refresh. Okay, so the blue says, okay, yep, pipeline's running. We saw a commit or a push to master branch. Still running here. So this would show each of your different stages, right? But in our case, because we only have one that's called test, that's the only thing that's going to pop up. But you can imagine, right? You'd have one that might say like code formatting or linting, right? So like whenever we get to Ansible, we'll do Ansible lint or YAML lint. And then we'll run the different playbooks against a network, and then do some validation, and then if everything passes, then there'll be another stage called like production or push to prod. And maybe we want that to be manual, or we'll just say, hey, if everything else passes, then go for it. So we'll kind of build on this. So if we click in here to the test stage, you'll see it went through, and it I didn't really go back through. I kind of but you'll see that we prepared the environment by pulling down the Docker image. We were able to verify the Python version, Python 3.9.7. We created a virtual environment, we activated it, and then we installed all of the dependencies listed in requirements.txt. And voila, all done. So yeah, so we did the check again, and now it's passed. It says all done. 3 files would be left unchanged. Cleaned up the project directory, job succeeded. Just like that. So now if we go back to jobs, you'll see one failed, one passed. It does take a while, I will say that. If we had a little better caching, like instead of pulling down every single time from PyPy all the different dependencies and installing them, I mean this pipeline duration could get down, easily cut down to 30 seconds. Same thing if we used a cached Docker image. We probably are. Docker's pretty good about it. It should, but like I said, I got to dive into that a little more. But Julio says he's looking forward to the next stream. I am too. It might seem like I was clueless this stream. I had a lot of deja vu moments going through all of this. I will say it's much different doing it in front of people, and doing it in front of on stream, and trying to, because there's a lot that like I was reading through the documentation and I was like, yeah, I have to, like creating the runner, for example, like I knew I needed a runner, but then just pulling up the documentation and it's like, oh man, like you know what I mean, like you just have to kind of take it step by step. So but good news, we have a runner, and it's installed as a service on my Ubuntu box, so it should just boot right up. I'll double check that on restart, but because it's a daemon process, it should just boot right up. So yeah, we'll have that now, and we'll kind of build on this pipeline for next time. But that's all I really had for the stream. I guess if there's any questions in the chat, you know, put them in now, and you know, I can answer anything. It could be related to what we did tonight, what we looked at tonight, or anything. It could be about, you know, study schedule, you know, what's next, and so on. So yeah, I'll just give it you know, a minute or so if anyone wants to put in the chat, because I think the stream is like 20 seconds. I think it's like 15-20 seconds behind. So I'll just kind of wait. But this is cool. I'm glad to see, like, I will say this, like, like, it's a simple pipeline, because it literally just formats the code. Honestly, like Julio mentioned, like, if you were to put this in production, you could literally have VS Code save it. It's somewhere in the settings. You literally can say, like, on save, format it to Pep 8 or Black or another formatter. So yeah, that it's, you wouldn't actually, like, I mean, you could include this in a CI/CD pipeline, but, like, you know, there's so much more we need to, you know, to make this actually something you'd want to put in production. But you can get a good idea, though. Like, this is a real simple example and something you could take away. So this repository is public. I'll see you later, Blues. Yeah. If you have any questions, or if you try accessing that Ansible repository and have issues, just let me know. Easiest way is probably on Twitter. But yeah, thanks for stopping by. But yeah, I think this is a pretty easy example. Like I said, you know, just to wrap up, there's a lot that I do off stream. So you may see this repository change, you know, in the coming weeks as I dive deeper into CICD. Because if we go back to our topics here, let me just do Control F. You'll see, like, okay, that's so weird that didn't highlight. Oh, okay, never mind. The CICD topics are using Git in CICD, which we just did, by the way. I mean, you have to think, we, you know, made changes, we committed the changes, and then pushed it up to GitLab. You know, there's other ways you could do revert, reset, branches, right? Branches, merging branches into the main or master branch. But I mean, yeah, well, we can mess with that a little more. This is kind of the bigger one here. Troubleshooting issues with the CI/CD pipeline, right? Code base failures, pipeline issues, tool incompatibility. That is something like, okay, we had a failure happen today. Let me pull it up here. Right, we had one of these, where'd it go? I mean, we had a failure, and if you know, I imagine on the exam you'd have something like this, where it would be, it might be more than just this one error, right? Like, this one's kind of obvious. One file needs reformatted. You could see the command that was ran, and then it failed. But maybe you had multiple things fail, and you have to go through a log like this and kind of figure it out. So yeah, so it's neat. I would definitely say, like, especially when we add layers to it, you know, deploying a test environment in CML, right? Standing that up, what that looks like. Pushing configuration, doing a dry run. I know Julio probably left, but Julio PDX, he's in the chat. He did an awesome CICD series on his blog. So for anyone who wants to check it out, you know, check out his blog, or you know, check him out on Twitter. He always posts good content, but he had a really good blog series about CI/CD pipelines and creating one that's more applicable to network engineers. I created one too. It was like a year ago. That's what the Ansible one was about, that Ansible repository. So I have one as well. I would say Julio's is a little more in depth, but yeah. So that's all I have. So if you have any questions, Twitter's probably the best way to get a hold of me, at DevNet Dan on Twitter. Besides that, I appreciate everyone stopping by. We had a great chat. I love when people jump in the chat, ask questions, make recommendations, help fix things, So if you're ever available or watching the stream, feel free to put something in the chat. No judgment here. Hey, we're all learning together. You saw what just happened. I had to pace, I read through instructions, got things figured out. That's the point. That's the goal. It's not necessarily a class environment. It's just something, it is in a way because we're learning things, but it's not, there's no wrong answers. We're going to try to figure it out as we go. We'll stumble along the way. So, that's all I have. All right. Well, if no one has any other questions on chat, then I guess I will be talking to you all next Thursday. See ya.
Hold me close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna